Hello, welcome, and happy St. Patrick's Day from Zach at the Gloucester Main Library, and thank you for joining us for this month's The Story of Flavor. First and foremost, I cannot promise I will not be using a very bad Irish accent at times during this video. Before anyone gets too upset, I have done DNA tests and have Irish heritage. Normally we would give you some cookbook recommendations and make a recipe from one of our books here at the library. However, today's recipes are unique to St. Patrick's Day, so instead we'll be giving you some non-cookbook recommendations. For the little ones, we have Let's Celebrate St. Patrick's Day by Peter Root, a great book of facts about St. Patrick's Day to teach the littles. Next up, for our young adult readers, we recommend Reggie and Delilah's Year of Falling by Elise Bryant. It's about two teens with nothing in common who keep meeting during the holidays, like St. Patrick's Day. Will these meetings turn into something more? Check out the book to find out. Finally, for our adult readers, we have The Irishman's Daughter by V.S. Alexander, a tale of love, famine, and murder, all set in Ireland. Check out this intriguing tale from the library today. So today we're going to be making two recipes for the kids to make with their parents at home. We've got leprechaun bark and leprechaun bait. Try saying that 5 times fast. And maybe you can use the bait to trap a leprechaun and find out where their pot of gold is. Our ingredients for each recipe are similar, so that saves some cost in making the recipes. We also get to use a fun tool today, the double boiler. A double boiler is a 2-part cooking device used to apply gentle, indirect heat. This means you don't melt items directly on the burner to delicate ingredients like chocolate. This method also helps prevent burning or curdling. You can buy a double boiler setup or easily make your own. You just need a pot with boiling water and a metal or glass bowl. Once the water starts to boil, set your bowl on top of the pot, but not touching the water. Pour in your ingredients and make sure to move them around so things melt evenly. And a fun fact, the double boiler, or bain marie as it's called, which means Mary's bath in French, originates from ancient alchemy, credited to 1st to 3rd century scholar Mary the Jewess for gently heating substances. Originally used for distillation and chemical experiments, this indirect heat method transitioned to culinary use with the term surfacing in 1870s English literature. Now let's start our recipes, and remember, if you mess up, that's okay. Everything is fixable. For leprechaun bark, we have our ingredients gathered here. We've got our cooking spray, our white chocolate chips, vegetable oil divided, green food coloring, a store brand of, oh, I can't believe they stole me Lucky Charms, half a cup of M&Ms divided into quarter cups, and we've got green and gold sprinkles. Before we get into the recipe, what kind of spells do leprechauns use? Lucky Charms. First thing is we're going to get our double boiler set up, which we've got right here. To help it boil quicker, you can also add a lid to the pot to get it boiling. While that's starting to boil, we're going to go ahead and we're going to grease our cookie sheet here. Just a nice little spray. We don't want the set bark to stick to our sheet here. Alright, we've got this set up. Press our paper in. Make sure it's even so we don't get any on our pan. And for right now, we're going to set that right here. An interesting fact, St. Patrick's real name was not Patrick. It was Maewyn Sucat. His other names included Sochet at birth, Cothrichi while enslaved, and Malonius during his studies. The name Patrick is derived from the Latin patrius, meaning father of his people or noble. Once we get to start our boil going here, what we're going to do is we're going to add 1.5 bags of our chocolate. And you're going to see some water spill out because we kind of had to make a homemade double boiler here. And then we're also going to add a tablespoon of our oil. And one thing that's important to remember when you're using the double boiler is you kind of want to get this mixed up and keep it moving, because that way everything's going to melt nice and evenly. You can see our chocolate is almost fully melted now using our little homemade double boiler setup here. Once it gets nice and melted and smooth, we're going to pour it into our dish here, our pan, excuse me, and spread it to about 1/4 inch thick. With this pan and the amount of chocolate we have, that should be about right to spread it across the whole bottom of the pan. While we do this, what positions do leprechauns play in baseball? Shortstop. All right, we got our chocolate nice and melted now. It's nice and smooth. I don't see any lumps of chocolate in there. So we're going to take and pour this into our sheet pan, making sure we get as much of that chocolate out as we can, because one thing you don't want to waste is chocolate. All right. So we're going to return our double boiler back to the pot here, spread our chocolate out, nice and evenly across the base. There we go. Now this will kind of find its own center of gravity and level out as we go. Next, we're going to add about another half a bag of our chocolate to the pot. And I'm just doing rough estimates here. You can do that at home if you want, or you can be more scientific about it. I'm just doing it because they didn't have 12-ounce bags of chocolate, so we've got 10, so it's just kind of an eyeball game. And then 3 tablespoons of our vegetable oil. Let's throw a little extra chocolate in there. Nobody's going to be mad about that. Now, that's going to start to melt, and what we're going to do is while that's melting, we're going to add some of our green food coloring in here. The recipe calls for about 18 drops. The gel comes out kind of quick, so what we're going to end up doing is just starting with a couple squirts in there, and we're going to mix this up, and we're going to test it as we go to see if it gets to our green color that we want. All right, so I ended up using our entire tube of the green food coloring in here. So we've got a nice kind of light green color, and you've got 2 options when you do this. You can just pour it on top to create a green layer, or you can drizzle it, which is kind of what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to drop some in at different spots. And this is also a little thicker because of the oil and the food coloring. It thickens it up a little bit, which is not a problem. We still got our nice melty chocolate here. And so then what I'm just going to do is just swirl it around so we get a nice mix of the green and the white chocolate. And just make it as pretty as you want it to make. Or again, you can just pour the chocolate on top and do that nice green layer. And my little swirl design just kind of blended in with it, so we got some mixes of white and green chocolate in here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to gently press our toppings into our mix here. And I'm going to wear a glove for this because the chocolate is going to be warm, so remember that when you do this at home. So we're going to add 1/4 cup of our M&Ms, our cup of our store brand Lucky Charms, our green and gold sprinkles. And now the recipe does call for a measurement on the sprinkles, but it's sprinkles. You don't really have to measure sprinkles. Everybody likes sprinkles. Just sprinkle them in there till your heart's happy. My heart says more sprinkles. So now we're going to press this into our bark here. Kind of make sure everything's nice and spread out. And then we're going to top with the rest of our M&Ms, which we don't necessarily have to press down because we just want those as a nice little decoration on the top. I'm just going to give them a little pat. And then what we're going to do from here is we're going to pop this in the fridge for about 30 minutes. Once it sets, we're going to break it into large pieces and then store it in a plastic bag. You can store it in the refrigerator or on the counter. I'd recommend the fridge. That way if it gets hot outside, your chocolate's not melting. So we'll be back with you in just a few minutes to start our next recipe after I pop this in the fridge. Before our next recipe, another interesting fact. St. Patrick, while associated with green these days, he was actually originally associated with the color blue. And so we're going to start our Leprechaun Bait. We've already got our pan set up with our parchment paper on it. We're going to go ahead and add our white chocolate in while we're waiting on our double boiler to start setting up. All right, so in our bowl here, while we're waiting on our double boiler, we're going to go ahead and add 2 cups of store brand Chex, a cup of pretzel twists, a cup of store brand Lucky Charms, our M&Ms, which interestingly enough, we got an M&M without color in this one. I haven't seen that in a really long time. Now, we're going to add our sanding sugar. And it does call for a teaspoon of sanding sugar, but I kind of treat sanding sugar like the sprinkles. Just add till your heart's content. It's not like this is going to throw the recipe off. And then because we have some sprinkles left over from our first recipe, we're going to go ahead and throw some of those in too, because why not? We have plenty of sprinkles, so let's get these in here. Oops. You see I just threw sprinkles everywhere? Again, if you mess up, that's okay. So while we're waiting on our double boiler, we're going to go ahead and get this mixed together here, just to kind of combine all those ingredients. When did leprechauns come to America? During the gold rush. I know you like those ones. Again, we've got our pan set up here and our double boiler is starting to work, so we're going to start mixing our chocolate here because we don't want that to unevenly melt or get clumped up. So give us just a few minutes, and once our chocolate's done, we'll go ahead and come right back to you. So I know you see it's getting messy here. You know, we had to kind of jury rig the double boiler. At home with a stove, it's not going to be this messy, so don't worry. Feel free to laugh at us for this one. It's all good. So our chocolate is getting nice and smooth here with no clumps. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pull our bowl of goodies over. Make sure we don't have any lumps or anything left in there. And now we're going to drizzle this just into the pot here. Making sure again we scrape all that yummy chocolate out. And because we're using the same double boiler setup from before, this does have a little bit still of that green food coloring in it, which, hey, that's fine. It just adds to the festivities of the dish. All right. Now, while I incorporate this, fun fact, while green is the color of Ireland on St. Patrick's Day, at one time, it could have gotten you killed. Historically, the song "The Wearing of the Green" refers to a time during the 1798 Irish Rebellion when wearing green or a shamrock was considered a symbol of rebellion against British rule and was punishable by death or other severe penalties like imprisonment. And so you see this little goopy mess is getting all together now and looking delicious. Make sure we get everything nice and coated in here. And then again, I'm just going to add a little bit more of our sanding sugar because why not? Nobody's going to complain about too much sugar or sprinkles. Oh, that was a lot, but hey, like I said, nobody's going to complain. We're going to keep just incorporating this with our additional sprinkles and sanding sugar. Hey, do you know what that big purple thing next to Ireland is? Great Britain. All right, now that this is incorporated, we're going to take our prepared sheet and transfer this onto it. And you'll see we got a little bit of a clumpy mess with some of the sprinkles and things. But that's all right. This isn't going to be like our bark. This is meant to kind of be eaten like a Chex Mix. So, you know, just break off the pieces you like. Get all that yummy goodness out of here. And you spread this out so it can cool evenly. Now this can also be cooled at room temperature, or you can throw it in the fridge. This one should only take about 10, maybe 15 minutes in the fridge. So while that's cooling, I'm gonna go ahead and throw this one in there. Our other bark should be about done, and we'll be back with you in a few minutes to show you how everything turned out. All right, and here we have our two St. Patrick's Day recipes. We have our bark here that we're gonna break up when we're ready to store. And then we've got our Leprechaun Bait, which we're also gonna break up to make it like Chex Mix. We hope you enjoy making these recipes as much as you enjoy eating them. Thank you for joining us for this month's The Story of Flavor with Zach at the Gloucester Main Library. And finally, I'll leave you with a joke and an Irish blessing. How does the leprechaun say farewell? I wish you well. Thank you again for joining us, and may your blessings outnumber the shamrocks that grow, and may trouble avoid you wherever you go. Thank you again and have a great day. St. Patrick's Story sounds like the next summer movie blockbuster. A young boy kidnapped by merciless pirates from his homeland, taken to a foreign country where he did not know the language, where he is sold into slavery. However, this was not the end of Maywin. He bided his time before making his daring escape, crossing over 68 miles of dangerous, freezing water and trekking another 120 miles on foot to reach his home. Once there, Maywin plots his return to his captive island of Ireland. However, his plan does not involve revenge. Our hero receives a dream from God commanding his return to his captive island and to bring religion to them. The once slave will become the St. Patrick of Ireland. Only in theaters this summer, presented in quadruple 888 sound. Don't miss the action movie of the year, St. Patrick, the Converter. What should you say to someone who is running at St. Patrick's Day race? I wish you luck. Oh, I kill me. I'd probably kill y'all too with these jokes. It's probably a good idea St. Patrick changed his name from Maywin. He probably got made fun of in school. May whine about everything. May the gold be with you. When are you going to get taller? You know how kids can be. Do you think the kids who picked on him later said, oh man, hey, you remember Maywin? He's now the patron saint of Ireland. I think we might have messed up teasing him. So, fun fact, St. Patrick never banished snakes from Ireland. This was an allegory for sin. Also, no archaeological evidence has ever been found of snakes in Ireland. The country split from the mainland before snakes could migrate there. Sounds like I may be planning a move. Think me accent will fit in?